For the first time, older people are going to be more populous than younger people. That's never happened before in the country's history. That caregiving ratio is going down.
Just being old is the #1 risk factor for most chronic diseases. And that includes heart disease or dementias, diabetes, cancers. And it's interesting because being old is a risk factor for, say, heart disease, 1,000 or 2,000 more potent than smoking or having high blood pressure. So there's something about the biology of aging that's really setting us up to be vulnerable to all these diseases.
There are not enough geriatricians to take care of the older adults in the country. So what we're focusing on in geriatrics is better arm our healthcare workforce to care for the older adults.
We are not talking about, longevity or, immortality at all. What we are talking about is a way of having a longer time with not being pushed to the outsides of your life. And if we can use science as a tool to get to some of the origins of the malfunctioning tissues, and that's what Dr. Niedenhofer's senolytic trials are about, that would be phenomenal. That would be enormous decrease in human suffering that is associated with some frailty.
And so that's led to kind of a really new paradigm in the field of aging. And that is, could we therapeutically target the biology of aging? So all of these things that change as we get older, develop a drug to target those and not your high blood pressure or your diabetes, but have a drug that targets biology of aging that might prevent or delay all of the age-related diseases sort of in a cluster. When you get older, probably somewhere between 3 and 10% of all of your cells are senescent. This is a different type of cell fate where the cell will never make another cell, but it doesn't disappear. And it turns out that these senescent cells, they drive aging. And we don't know exactly where those cells occur right now. They could be in any organ at all, but they're all just secreting these factors that just keep a level of inflammation aggravated that contributes to, I think, vulnerability to so many age-related diseases. What we want to do is clear those damaged and senescent cells from the body so that they can't do further harm.
And what Dr. Niedenhofer has designed with her team is how we can dial that rheostat, a little more favorable towards a better functioning and better functional body.
I have a team of about 30, and so I interact with them and we discuss how best to execute experiments, and we've been working really hard.
And she has been focused, very focused, and has that discipline, of ordered intellect to really align things, in a way that you can start looking at patterns and looking at the pattern recognition, because that's exactly how you get the best discoveries in science.
But I've worked very closely with Dr. Pacala in trying to think about new approaches to tackle the concerns we have about this aging population. So we're working on a task force in the School of Medicine to address this.
Traditional routine medical care needs to better adapt and address the 4 M's. And once it does, once the workforce is trained to do that, our older adults will live better, they'll live more fulfilling lives, and they may live longer.
I am very surprised to find myself working in the area of aging, but I think once you become a scientist, you spend your life searching for the biggest problems you can tackle. How can you have the biggest impact? And right now, I would argue the rapid aging of our population worldwide is a huge challenge. It's just going to have a huge impact on every aspect of our life. So to find a way to keep those folks healthy in old age, I think is very impactful, and it's satisfying to go after something that big and challenging.
there's a personal motivation and fulfillment in it that is extremely rewarding. We're caring for one of the more vulnerable segments of society, and there's just something very fulfilling in doing that.
It is a gift, that you are in presence of people that are this brilliant and this selfless in many ways, like Dr. Niederhofer and Dr. Paula, that they commit to these unsolved challenges of humanity. Because these are moral as well as scientific or clinical challenges.